is up everyone? Welcome back to another episode on the A-Team channel. Now, today's one is all about delving into the prose text for the GCSE English Literature Paper 1, and in particular our focus for the day is on inspector calls. To be honest, even if you're doing a different prose text, the technique I'm about to go through pretty much applies to all of these questions, and it is often, from what I found from my experience, the most neglectful. So if you want to crush this exam and get close to top marks, then this is a technique you don't want to be leaving out for your English Lit exam. But right before I get started, guys, this is a new channel and we are trying to work hard for people like yourself. So make sure to subscribe and let us return the favor back to you by creating content that is directly going to bring value to you. So let's now get into it. One of the most common things I notice when it comes to GCSE English literature, and that is most people can often describe the events of the play pretty well and use relevant examples in the analysis to back that up. But I've noticed generally from having read the examiner's report, and that is a lot of students tend to miss out marks on this AO3 component. Now, I don't want to bore you with all this examiner terminology, so I'm going to keep this very brief and just get specifically to the point so that you can go ahead and earn those crucial top marks and really crush this GCSE English Lit once and for all. The AO3 part of the mark scheme is basically how you can connect the extract that you're presented with in the exam paper and then relate that back to the context and the time period of which the play was set in. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going to leave out the analysis part for the first part of the question that you would be writing a response for, and really just focus and emphasize on the context here. As like I said, a lot of students tend to either not elaborate on this enough or miss it out altogether, and I don't want you to be one of those students. So really do pay attention here. Now, I'm going to just use the inspector calls as an example, but like I mentioned earlier, you can apply this to any other prose text question. So technique wise, you should be doing the same thing. So there are a number of themes that are running concurrently within this play, and the aim of the question that you are answering is that you are linking the play to the context. A quick tip is that you don't want to be linking all aspects of the context in the answer, but rather you want to be selecting maybe 2 points and then elaborating on these two. So let's start off with social class. Now, class is a prominent theme that runs through the entirety of this play. This play was set in the Edwardian period, and this was an era where the class system was very prominent during this time. Therefore, you wouldn't see the upper class mixing freely with the lower classes. And there are numerous examples running throughout the play where you can see Mr. Burling, in essence, attempting to even bully the inspector by using his acquired status and position in society. For example, Mr. Burling sees Eva as just one of several hundred young women who worked at his factory. This is a direct indication of how Mr. Burling is delineating himself from the working class and how his perception is tainted by seeing the working class as being a lot less than he is. This can be further seen when the play develops and he refers to Eva as a girl of that sort. Again, another overt remark to his snobbish nature. His view that he fought and worked hard to climb the social ladder is another resemblance of not only his arrogance, but almost like it was his birth-given privilege, and this is also sadly echoed through the other family members. For instance, Mrs. Burling feels insulted when a working class used her name. You have Sheila, who was shopping at an expensive store and due to her purchasing power was able to make Eva disposable just to facilitate her insecurities. Gerald uses Eva as a mistress, knowing full well that he could dispose of her at his own whim due to her lower class status. And again, he didn't feel too concerned that it would come in the way of his marriage. And then you have Eric as well, who uses Eva as a way of attaining some easy sex at the end of a drunken charade. The point you could be making here is that the weak and the vulnerable of this class-based system was seen as being far less worthy and definitely not viewed on parity with that of the upper class, and therefore seen as very easy prey. If you can back these points with relevant examples from the play, you should be able to get top marks for this question. Now, this next theme isn't actually too far placed from that of what we just gone through of social class, but there is a slight difference and it is definitely worth exploring. So capitalism is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than by the state. Priestley portrays Mr. Burling as his archetype for capitalism. Even down to the stage directions where his wealth is shown through his portliness, he is a money-driven capitalist who takes no responsibility for his actions, the consequences of them, or for his workers' well-being. And as a member of the wealthy middle class, he feels superior to the working class and just simply uses them as cheap labor rather than respect them as people, as we just discovered in the previous discussion about social class. You can see through the use of dramatic irony, his political views are shown to be idiotic, as those who hold it are shown to be fools simply. Does this remind you of any political leaders out there today? So this can be demonstrated when he states Germans don't want war, nobody wants war. Also, Mr. Berling only cares about his reputation and business. Rather than apologizing for his treatment of Eva, he tries to bribe the inspector. I'd give thousands. Yes, thousands. This portrays his ignorance and hypocrisy. He clearly has the money to spare for a bribe, but won't pay his workers a fair wage. Once again, the use of dramatic irony here is used very effectively by Priestley. There are countless occasions where Berling is portrayed as this bullish, remorseless character, and you can even see following the inspector's visit, Mr. Berling values his business over the emotion of his own son, despite Eric's distress at the suicide of Eva and the death of his unborn child. Mr. Berling offers absolutely no sympathy, ordering him instead to work for nothing until the money he stole be repaid back. Now let's flip the coin and look at the concept of socialism. Socialism is a political and an economic theory of social organization which states the production and wealth should be owned or controlled by the whole community. The inspector is this iconic representation of Priestley's socialist views. The inspector's final speech foreshadows this and is designed to be a stark warning against future wars. Again, you can of course relate the time period of this play, and in 1945, when the Second World War came to an end, this is when this play was written and socialism was on the rise, with Churchill being voted out of the office by the Labour Party. Priestley was also a founding member of the Commonwealth Party. Now, to upper class members of society, socialism was actually viewed as a disease simply because it was seen as a system working for the working class and a way of surging power away from the upper class. And this is why you can see how staunchly Mr. Berling refutes socialism when he states, probably a socialist or some sort of crank. Now, of course, one of the things to take into account is that if the country was under a socialist regime, then the chances of what took place with Eva Smith would not have taken place. Workers would have received a decent wage. They would also be entitled to rights and be able to join a union of some sort that protects workers' rights and negotiates salary and things like working conditions. Also, if a socialist system was in existence, then when an employee is sacked, they are entitled to a portion of the salary, thereby preventing Eva from turning to prostitution. Now, there are tons of examples throughout the play, and some of them you can see in this slide. You can, of course, adapt your own examples and link it to these themes. And there are, of course, many other themes that are very much noteworthy and mentionable in this play. But I just wanted to point out a couple of examples using these two primary themes and how you can adapt them in your response to get these top marks. So in order to summarize on this, if you are writing a response for English literature, then one thing you want to ensure doing, especially if you wish to crush the paper and get top marks, is to make this contextual reference. Just like I pointed out, things like World War I and World War II and how socialism was on the rise and how the class system was still in place during this time period, you want to make references and connections to this. This will cement your understanding of not just the play, but gives the examiner a holistic response and thereby earning you more marks in the process. I honestly do believe if you prepare well for English literature this year, and if you make the necessary adjustments and strategize for this exam, then there is absolutely no reason why you can't crush the exam and walk out with a top grade. Also, if there are any other topics or areas you'd like me to cover, then drop a comment down below. And once again, if this was helpful to you in any way, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. On that note, my name is Amin, and I will catch up with you another time.
None of these toys on lease to made the whole year in a week to main chick out of their league to side chick out of their league to